So let's straight away begin with the
Sure.
questions. So, today the topic which we are discussing is on MILF, and also I want to ask you something relating to orgasm. So let's begin with MILF. Okay, the term which is one of the most enduring terms when it comes to porn users year after year. So I want to understand from you, what is this fascination which people have for MILF? What is it makes them so interested in searching for this particular term?
That it stems from so much of the culture and the media in America. The term MILF wasn't really coined until the 90s, but we have had a fascination with beautiful older women in film for quite some time. You can see this in The Graduate with Anne Bancroft back in the 1970s. You can see this in Back to the Future in the 1980s. Marty McFly's mom is pretty hot when he travels back in time. And then in the 1990s, we saw this very odd kind of like surge of impressionable people creating art around beautiful older women. And we have that in American Pie with Stifler's mom, who was where MILF was the first place. Thank you, American Pie, I guess. And then a song that came out just after that called Stacy's Mom. And it's about a guy who really likes his girlfriend's mom. And then we see it even beyond that. In today's media, we see a lot of television programs. There's a show called MILF Manor that has gained popularity in America, where hot moms compete for the eye and attention of young men. And this fascination, I have to tell you, I don't necessarily know if it's replicated as wholeheartedly in other cultures as it is in American culture. And I think I have some answers as to why.
Okay, please. I'm very curious to know why.
So in America, we are extremely sexually repressed. So there is, as much as we want to feel like we have all of these freedoms and, freedom of speech, and we have pockets of the country that have embraced the LGBTQ community, we still don't teach people a lot about their sexuality. And so to have this knowledge of what you want and what you desire, that becomes very attractive to individuals, whether those individuals are male or female. A person who you engage in sexual activity with, when they know how to please a person and how to please themselves, they know what good sex is, they know what they want when they want it and how they want it. That's a very attractive quality, because we are deprived of that for such a long time. So there's also this idea that in America, we recently had a resurgence of a very big feminist movement. And in the 90s, when this MILF idea was coming about, we were seeing a lot more younger and successful single mothers. And the idea of being a single mom wasn't a taboo. It didn't mean poverty for everyone. It actually meant freedom for a lot of people. And so in American culture, for a very long time, being married was pretty much the only way that you could exist as a human being. You couldn't have like a job that would have paid you enough to live on your own. You couldn't have a credit card in your name until the 70s. You couldn't be part of clinical research. Yeah. So like for a long time, being married and not being a sex object was kind of the way of life. So in the 90s, we sort of saw this big resurgence and women sort of taking back like their control and their power and their sexual desire. And we see people like Jennifer Lopez, we see people like Beyonce, we see people like Janet Jackson, who are women who happen to have children, who are also sexual beings and own their sexuality. And I think that this concept of a younger man being attracted to an older woman has roots in wanting to be taken care of on the male's perspective. Also lack of insight and lack of knowledge into their own sexual desires and the sexual desires of other women. And also because a MILF could be 23. I mean, if she has a kid, is she not a mother?
Yeah.
So we have all this kind of like influx of societal changes and cultural changes and lack of education and lack of resources surrounding what brings us pleasure. And I think this amalgamation of it's kind of hot to just love human beings as they are. And just because someone has a kid doesn't make them any less desirable or less sexy. And when women own that and embrace it, I think that that's appealing to various genders, including men.
Absolutely. In fact, Professor Valley, you raised a very pertinent point regarding how sexual repression can contribute to this in a patriarchal society. The reason why I'm saying this is Kerala historically, traditionally, was a matrilineal society. It changed only after colonialism came into India, okay, and all this sex negativity came along with that. So my thought process was that maybe in a traditional matrilineal society, which Kerala once was, where sex was not considered to be sin or shame, maybe MILF would not have that kind of an appeal. What do you think?
I think that we are looking at the word MILF. I think that we're looking at this in the wrong way. I think that people find women attractive at all ages. I think what we do, though, is deny sexual agency of people of a certain age, right? So if you look at the word MILF and you look at what it actually means, it's a I'm gonna swear if that's okay. It's a mother I'd like to fuck. And mothers come in various ages. So if you break down what that term is, it's just somebody who has a kid who's also hot. And I don't necessarily think that the two need to be separated. Why wouldn't they be hot? Just because they've had a kid. I think what we're looking at is women of a certain age, right? Women, I don't even know where the age marker is. Is it 35? Because that's how old Stifler's mom was in American Pie. Yeah. Is it 45? Because that's about how old Anne Bancroft was in The Graduate. Is it someone who is the mother of a teenager? Is it someone who's 10 years older than you, which could be a range of ages? I think that in a matriarchal society, there would be even more respect for women, and therefore less attention paid to how many children they've had or whether or not you'd want to fuck them, and probably more attention paid to the hierarchy in that society. I think that in a lot of cultures, the manga culture, for example, teaches their young boys to worship a female's orgasm and teaches young boys how to pleasure women, because that is such an important part of a relationship. So I think that the patriarchal society is probably the only one that could exist that would have created this pocket of kink in that we idolize the idea that a mother, this mother figure, could potentially provide us with more sexual satisfaction than someone who isn't a mother.
Okay, so essentially it kind of tabooized the whole idea, which making people... Okay. Also, Professor, you also mentioned regarding the origin of the word MILF. How do you think it came into existence?
So it came into existence in the movie American Pie.
Okay, that was the original film, which...
Yeah, and then an author by the name of, I have her name, May Friedman, defined the term later on. But American Pie actually came up with the anagram MILF or whatever. They came up with mother I'd like to fuck because of Stifler's mother, because she was the MILF of their friend group. And then May Friedman defined the term and says that it denies sexual agency, positioning mothers as the recipients of sexual attention and sexual objects rather than sexual participants. So instead of being active participants in their own sexuality, she believes the term actually denies them their sexual agency, which I find interesting.
Okay.